Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the town board meeting for June 14th, 2023 at a little after 6:30 p.m. As always, we are hybrid, so we run the meeting over Zoom. We're streaming to Facebook and YouTube. There's information at the top of each of our agendas to join us via Zoom and take part in the meeting that way. Next up, I will ask Councilor Denton to lead to the pledge.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so first up, we have open podium. This is an opportunity for folks to share comments, questions, concerns with the board. I know we've had a couple of requests to come in. Just, I know we've got a couple items here. Just to be clear, there will be, where are we? With the Skyridge Water District Improvement Project, there will be a public hearing at one point to have further conversation. And we are in the process of setting a date for the Garden Park Apartments over on Hybrid Street. If you're here to speak on those matters, obviously you still have access to your 3 minutes, but just we ask that comments are really best when we have a whole audience here that is for that discussion. But I'll start calling people up as they have requested to speak. So first up is Margaret Moldy.
I apologize to the members of the town board. In the emailing you, I forgot to PDF or send you the exact Word documents. So when I got my blind copy of it, I was rather aghast. It was hardly what you would call easy read. Use my momentary delay here. And I apologize, I only printed off 10 copies, so maybe somebody could share. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, my name is Margaret Morley. I live on Highbridge. I grew up in Casinodia. And I moved to Fayetteville only a couple of years after returning to the United States after living in Germany for some years. I sent this letter to the town board members this afternoon. It's a bit lengthy, I apologize. I'll try to read it quickly, as I am willing to offer my intake or input on what is being discussed currently as far as zoning change and the proposed development called Garden Park. As a fairly junior resident of Highbridge Street, 16 years, I'm deeply concerned by the prospect of a 78-unit apartment complex being developed directly across the street from my home. Only a few days ago, an anonymous letter to neighbors appeared in our mailbox, which informed us of this development being planned next to Brookdale. I should begin by saying I am not NIMBY, or rather NIMBY. In my case, it's across the street, so it's in my front yard, resident regarding change and development in and around the town. Rather, it is the manner in which this development is done and the care and planning that incorporate contingencies and mitigation measures that are put in place and that can make the change work for the town as a whole and for the smaller communities impacted by this change. I've reviewed the documents relative to this issue and used the YouTube feed from the April 26th meeting. I have also read the draft comprehensive plan, specifically that portion regarding mixed family housing approved by the town. At this early stage, I am not convinced that the preliminary discussions and actions for this development have been sufficient, nor do they embrace significant development aspects for this type of project recommended in the comprehensive plan. I understand a major issue facing the town is the lack of senior housing options available currently. I also understand that one of the town's major objectives is to concentrate future development within already developed areas, particularly those which already have access to public infrastructure and have opportunities for infill development. In a perfect world, I and possibly many neighbors who live in the immediate vicinity of this proposed development would prefer that this lot remain vacant.
Excuse me.
Yes.
The public open podium, we generally try to keep it about 3 minutes, and you've gone over your time. If you just like to kind of wrap up the rest of the letter. And again, there will be.
All right. I simply say
we will commit to.
Yeah, and we've all received it.
You what?
We've all received it, and we'll have some opportunity.
And have read it?
Yeah.
I
At this point, I don't know, but
okay.
We're not making any decisions on this
I am
project.
only saying that I am seriously concerned that what is proposed is much too large, much too opulent, and that your comprehensive plan specifically recommends that the input of the community and the surveys that you took of what was preferred by the community need to be considered. And I do not see that in this rendition.
So we are very early on in this project. We're looking at setting a date for a public hearing for a zone change. And as far as the visual aspects of it, a lot of that will actually be handled by another board, the planning board, and there'll be a public hearing there.
Letter to the planning board.
Great.
Oh, great, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And one more thing, furthermore, what was not discussed and which I think you need to address are the impacts on the community around. You seem to talk about this thing, and I understand it's a development you're talking about, as if it is an island. And that there's nothing else around it that really is going to be impacted. The traffic, the congestion, the noise, the aggravation, and the actual density that will certainly happen with this development. I didn't hear that being discussed whatsoever as to how that's going to be addressed and mitigated. So I will certainly have more to say, exactly what I want to say here tonight on any future occasion.
Absolutely.
Because I do not feel that
I believe
I
when we
hear
set the date for the public hearing, there's a notice will go out to the residents to let them know that we've got that.
Properties within 1,000 feet.
How is that going to be sent out?
So we take the tax map number of the parcel, and then we use the county GIS system, and we draw a 1,000-foot circle around it, and then we get addresses, and I'll send you a letter saying that the public hearing is going to be scheduled for this time. This is how you can participate, submit comments, and then obviously
how early on is that sent so that people can prepare and set aside time or do their research or do.
I've recommended that we are going to set the public hearing date for July 12th, and that would give me enough time to send out the letters. But that is not under my control. That's up to the board. But that gives me enough time to send letters to residents.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we've got Joe Messinio.
I'm back. I'm going to shift this way so people can hear me a little better. What I'd like to address is, I know maybe a little bit late to the game, is to ask the board to consider some things relative to the law that was passed the last board meeting, the local law 127-26, to clarify the individual subdivision lot that shall tie directly into public water. So let me read the language that I think you need to reconsider for the benefit of the people, the board I've talked to, but the folks haven't. So the change in the law deals with utilities, which in this case we're concerned about public water and public sewer, and the change reads, word for word, where public water is available to a properly subdivided lot, each existing lot, which is important, or lots to be created shall be required to tie directly into the water line provided by the Onondaga County Water Authority for the said subdivision. So here's a couple of comments that I want you to consider. I think this language needs clarification because it's very sweeping, it's all encompassing. I interpret the language to mean just what it says, that if you have an existing lot that wherever it happens to be, you have to connect. Now, in our case, as you all know, I'm from Salt Springs Road. There's kind of an interesting situation taking place. There's a discussion of a water line coming down the road. So if the water line is approved and it put in the ground, I would view that whether we pay for it or not, because I know that the current program is to, which you'll see later tonight, is to put the line in, but it would kind of bypass us and go down the Skyridge. I view that as being available. So the term available, you might want to define further. So if it's available to me, that means then I would have to connect, and all my neighbors, some of whom are here, would have to connect. Once you connect, then there's the possibility that you'd also be included in the bonding. They don't know. The problem on South Springs Road and for other areas is that bringing water in from the street in a heavily rock-laden area is extraordinarily expensive, as you know, as you've experienced as you look at the line. So some of my neighbors, for example, Mr. Jansen, he's about 700 feet off the road. I'm about 300 to 400 feet off the road. There's others that are 600 feet off the road. Essentially, that bedrock makes it economically, it'd be a tremendous financial burden. And I know that the impetus for this was to solve a problem on Burdick Street, and maybe this wasn't considered. On Monday night, for anybody that watched, the planning board had an extensive discussion about what was the intent. Well, the intent was really not to force everybody who has a perfectly good working well to connect. And there was quite a bit of a back and forth, and the board decided to send it back to the town board for reconsideration. So this is possibly under consideration as it is. There's another possible side effect to this too. I'm not against the water line. As you know, I don't really want to pay for it because I don't need it. But development of Salt Springs Road, which is one of your most beautiful roads in the town, it will be economically very difficult for anybody to develop. The large landholders, if they have to draw a line in.
Seeing that you're over time, I just want to address this. That local law was not meant to open up that type of possibility.
No. It may not be meant to, but what I'm asking for is that the language be reviewed. I've had the language reviewed by 2 other attorneys who said they felt it needed clarification as well. So I don't feel that the language. Oh, go ahead.
First of all, I have no problem clarifying it because if that's what your interpretation is, okay. But this was for lots that are in a subdivision or have been or are going to be subdivided. Your lot is not in a subdivision.
No, my lot is in Pine Pass subdivision, which is a 3-lot subdivision.
Is that a filed subdivision map?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if that,
as many of the houses are.
yeah. So if that is the case, then we can certainly those many lots in the town are not parts of subdivision and don't have access to public water. This was specifically to prevent what's happening, what could happen on a property on Burdick Street where water is going through one building to another building. And if that property was subdivided, then you would have to have direct access to the water line. So I have
I mean, also too, I think the whole notion of available, if you're not in a water district, the water is not available.
Well, when everybody's gone from
clarification is warranted.
Yeah, fine. Absolutely. We can definitely
That's
take
no
a look at that.
problem.
As well.
The water
asking
district
for-
would still need to be created. Is
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
yeah,
The water district would need to be created first.
Yeah, but we can absolutely look at some clarifications and we'll go through the whole process again and,
because the intent is one thing, but the words don't match the intent. And I think 5, 10, 15 years when we're all gone, somebody's going to look at this law and then they're going to have the same argument that was had at the meeting Monday night. And it's so much easier to add more detailed language now. So it just wipes out.
This was not at the request of anybody on this town board. This was at the request of Aqua because of one situation. Aqua looked at the language. They were comfortable with it. They thought that solved their issue, but it needs clarification.
Well, I understand why, Tim, but the law is sweeping. The problem was singular. So the singular problem.
It wasn't singular because that problem can exist again somewhere where
it could, but you sweep up all these other property owners that, and again, you're going to prevent any kind of development on that road because anything in the future will have to be a subdivision.
And we'll probably clarify by saying in future subdivisions, something like that, where water is available. Now, don't forget, when you build a subdivision nowadays, water is generally available. as part of the subdivision process. But if it's not because they're on wells, then it doesn't affect them. But I get it, we will clarify.
I think the point is you need to give the planning board more flexibility to deal with special situations. But thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so next up, we have Aaron Trojan, who sent in something that Allison's going to read to the record.
I, Aaron Trojan, obviously not me, reside at 8789 Horseshoe Lane. I am the president of the Horseshoe Lane Homeowners Association, the primary users in the Skyridge Water District. I would like to demonstrate our support for the town of Manlius pursuing the proposed new water line to serve our residents and the extension serving our neighbors Clear Path for Veterans. As many people know, we have been trying to obtain a reliable source of potable water and fire protection for some years now. After several failed attempts and hearing that other property owners along and adjacent to Salt Springs Road are not interested in access to a public drinking water supply, we feel that this is a beneficial solution that takes the financial burden off those not interested. It is our understanding that only those in the existing Skyridge Water District or the new Clear Path extensions would be financially liable. I know some people are concerned that access to a public water line would encourage subdivisions along Salt Springs Road. There are not public sewers along Salt Springs. According to the zoning for the restricted agricultural zone, where sewers are not available, a lot must have a minimum of 200 of frontage and 100,000 square feet or 2.3 acres. This would not allow typical residential subdivisions. We are grateful that the town and the related agencies continue to pursue securing water and fire protection for our neighborhood. I apologize for not attending tonight, but I'm willing to provide whatever assistance may be necessary to ensure that this project moves forward swiftly and effectively.
Do we have anyone else here who'd like to share for open podium?
Yes, I'd like to address the open podium in the sense that now that I've heard preceding people and your need to control the time, I wanted to talk about the zoning change. You're going to schedule a public hearing. My comments are probably more appropriate for the planning board. Ultimately, it comes back to you for adoption of the change. So I might have comments there, but I'm sure that my 400 some odd words are longer than your 3 minutes or my 3 minutes.
Well, so
Could you introduce yourself?
Excuse me?
Could you say who you are?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Bill Gray. I live at 5140 Hybrid Street. I'm directly across from the memory care units and the proposed zoning change. My parents bought the house I'm in 1952. I've lived there off and on for 70 years, mostly on. As the former city engineer and public works director for the city of Ithaca, I've gone through a lot of comprehensive plans and all the rest that I just learned about this. And so I've got more homework to do. I will come back and make those comments at that time, and we'll deal with the planning board.
You can submit written comments at any time.
Yeah,
if you
absolutely.
haven't already emailed to us or you want to leave them with us, we'd be happy to.
I will convert this to a letter and then make it available to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in attendance over Zoom that's looking to speak at open podium? If so, please use the raise hand function. And just one last call for everyone here. Is anyone here to share a comment on open podium? Okay. Looks like we don't have anyone online, so we'll get moving right along. So first up, we have the public hearing for local law to create a new chapter 60 of the Town of Manlius Code regulating landscaping and lawn maintenance and setting certain enforcement of same. So I know there has been some conversation. We've received a negative recommendation from the planning board. I think I've checked in with most folks. I think we're interested in taking that recommendation and considering the language and really, yeah.
Sure, I just did a couple things. So I wanted to just explain, I know the whereas is on that law probably should have been a little bit more, and I can work on those, but I wanted to explain the intent of that law. One of the intent was to codify the process that the town currently already does. It already occurs when we receive complaints about tall grass. So this would help our code department be able to point to our this law that explains what's allowed and what's not allowed. And then our intent with this law was also to make it easier for property owners who would like to keep a managed natural landscape. But I've definitely heard many concerns and many issues, and I'm really grateful for that. And some of these issues I also have some concerns with too. So I'm happy to go back and revise it a little bit and make it better. So, but I'm still, you're here to talk about it. Let's talk about it.
So I'll make a motion to waive the reading.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so I would for motion to open public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second. Go ahead.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. So I would ask if you just show of hands or whoever would like to come up and speak.
Sorry for twice.
No worries.
Something just occurred to me, once again, the unique nature of some of the roads that we have, some of my neighbors have large lots, and I know the standard you're looking for is like 10 inches or less on the lawns. But for example, no mow May, in our area, there's a number of beehives, for example. So the bees really need some of that stuff at certain times of the year, so you don't want to mow it. So again, my point is that maybe you should take into consideration certain areas that are, they don't want to cut their grass every week because they have 40 acres or something like that, and the house is set back and there's a big thing in between. But
well, and I know there is an allowance for wild areas in the law, but that's something that we can probably consider, maybe relative to lot size or zoning, something like that.
And again, Milledge Landing is different than a rural road, and you got to leave flexibility in there for that.
And the 10 inches comes from the New York State law. That's where that comes from. It doesn't come from that's what we adopted with New York State. So but if we can make that longer, I'm happy to make that longer.
Yeah.
Well, there's a section in here that talks about managed natural landscape that allows you to.
Yeah, that would fall under the managed
That would-
natural landscape.
Yeah, I think there's some setbacks from roads and other properties, but yeah, thank you very much for the comment.
Faith, did you want to speak or use silent?
No, I sent my.
Okay.
Anyone else here that'd like to make a comment for the landscaping and lawn maintenance?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Barbara Wilson submitted hers, and I agreed to read it into the record. Barbara Wilson on Horseshoe Lane. I watched the planning board take on the issue of property management last night. I had read the document before the meeting and was genuinely surprised by the heavy-handedness of the language that many times the words used, which have multiple definitions, words such as invasive weeds versus wildflowers and others. Not sure what prompted today's need for this ordinance, but if there is room to argue about aesthetic specific plantings, that's a Pandora's box that may end up in the courtroom. I think it's important to have rules about how close your pollinator gardens, say, can be to the road. I think the common legal standard is to require a 4-foot mown perimeter that is needed to indicate that the area has been managed. Consider that. But again, the word managed is too broad and too subjective and must be defined by specific parameters. There are too many questions that need to be answered before this becomes law, and I'd like to know why leasing private property is what we want our town, beyond making sure sight lines are clear when turning at an intersection or in and out of one's driveway. Maybe that is all the ordinance we need. Or make use of an ordinance to make sure abandoned properties are minimally cared for, but we probably have an old ordinance for that situation already. But again, another word without definition, what constitutes abandonment? We are trying to be more of a green community, and more we are seeing pollinator gardens that sometimes look like a beautiful meadow and other times look like just raspberry bushes tangled all in a bunch. I would not legislate an invitation to an elected official to judge my raspberry bushes, nor do I think my neighbor could have rights to do so either, unless their health and safety are truly compromised. But who decides? My neighbor grows ragweed, and if I wanted to complain to the town that her ragweed exacerbates my allergies, should that be a town problem? There's a lot wrong with this proposed ordinance, and I hope you will take another hard look at the public good this may or may not do for us. Stick with safety, and you might pass a good piece of legislation. Finally, being fined and having that bill added to one's property taxes is plain wrong. If I get fined for parking in the wrong space in Manlius, I don't pay the fine. It doesn't get added to my taxes. Gives and taxes should be separate, else the town could be guilty of overreach to increase revenue. I feel very strongly that this proposal is fraught with debatable issues that cannot be resolved easily or in many cases rarely. Will you respond to complaints from neighbors who call? Will you or I be sued if you or I don't act so as to comply with the law? I've read the proposed ordinance several times, and it is definitely not your best work or written in your usual standards. Please consider the intent and intended audience of this new law and revise. Thank you for all the good you do, and surely will continue to do. Barbara.
Thank you. Anyone else here for a public comment?
So we leave the public hearing open.
I know that's my question. Is if I make
Come on.
Yeah.
We can leave it open. We could also close it and then republish it because I think it's going to take a little time. Yeah.
So just very quickly, Andrew Bushnell, HB9 South Vegas. Siding with Joe and that last person that just was read. The town of Manlius, excuse me, town of Manlius has a lot of rural area. The village of Manlius that they had built, right? Why would we consider a town ordinance about lawn management, property management, when there's so much rural space? So my property sits, my house sits about 500 feet from the road. I have fields in front of the house. You know, they're not veiled, they're natural wildflowers. They allow monarch butterflies, which are endangered species, to come and land and lay eggs. They allow birds to nest in the spring. Why would I want to manage that? You know, well, that's the real question. Why would we want to regulate anybody to do anything with the front of their property unless it's within a village setting with strict regulations? And that's why some of us don't live in the village.
Again, I do want to make, like, the goal of this law is the town already does this. In 2019. They our other code enforcement officer did request permission to mow any properties that are found to violate the tall grass regulations in the town code after proper violation notification procedures have been followed. The town is doing this already, and if we want to change that practice, I'm happy to do so. I don't really like that practice anyways, but again, we'll figure out how to change that.
Yeah, our goal was to codify into law the existing process that's been in place for
a really long time.
Really long time. Yeah.
It's been 2019, but before that, the town board would get the complaint.
Because it sounds like it could be selectively enforced.
Yeah,
in a way, which is a problem. So I think we need to either make it a much better law, or figure out enforcement.
Yeah, because we do every year. We get tall grass complaints.
Right. So traditionally, when we get a complaint, we react to the complaint.
Yeah.
And it's usually within a subdivision where there are smaller lots and people are not, the house might be vacant and the property gets overgrown. Somebody complains about it, we go through a process. I think that's what Elaine is trying to accomplish, is to codify that to help the code enforcement officer. This is not something the town of Manlius goes out and looks for, or the code enforcement officer goes out and looks for. We're responding to complaints. So that, I think, is that is what initiated this, is the fact that we get complaints every year and we try to address those.
But I think we're going to rework it. But we have to rework it. Yeah, it's just based on it. It's not practical. And exactly, we have the same goals. We want as many pollinators as possible.
That was the intent of this, is to, that way if someone complained, the person who was growing their lawn could say, look, it's allowed. And so if that's not what you wrote, we'll fix it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing, but that's because this law will not come back. A different, better worded law will come back and get a new public meeting and a new public hearing at that time. Yeah. So I don't want people to think we're cutting off conversation because
I will say, because this is a town-wide thing, there won't be public notices mailed out. So and I'm going to take a shameless shot at this, if you are interested in having more conversation about this law in the future, please go on our website and sign up to receive the agendas in your email, so that you know when those things are coming up. Because really, we publish it, we try to get out as much as we can, but it's very difficult. So if you want to make sure that you know when the next public hearing will be, or the next version of this law will be, please make sure you sign up for the emails.
So I will now make a motion.
Is there something, did you want to speak? Me? Did you want to?
I just had one.
Oh, you are, I thought you were trying to leave.
No, I wanted to say, I can always say something.
Identify yourself, please.
It was obvious to me.
Yeah.
Rich Rossetti, I'm on the planning board. My concern about this, among some of the other things that we had mentioned in our denial 2 days ago, is that it was definitely, in my opinion, not reviewed by an attorney. There are definitions that are in the document that didn't flow through to the rest of the document. And it really needs to have attorney review because it's not a good law, the way it's written right now.
I did look at it.
I'll point out some things. You defined owner, and owner is not capitalized in the document. There's definitions of different things that were not capitalized in the rest of the document. Those things need to be taken care of before I believe it should be accepted, if it is accepted.
Another note too is where we started with this law was by looking at other municipalities. And so this is based off of other municipalities, but we've made ours hopefully better, but not good enough.
I'm just saying, when you have a definition in the agreement, a document, a contract, and it says owner is defined as this, owner should be capitalized in the rest of the document. And there are several different definitions. But you know, I complain about that all the time.
We're pretty consistent about that usually, but we can take that note.
But
yeah, that's
true.
That's how we do it.
Okay, I'm just saying, as you move this thing forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Okay. Now I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So I'm assuming there's no motion to adopt this. Great, we will move on. Okay,
thank you for the work so far.
Yeah. Well,
thanks, Tom. We know you're trying to be so important.
Okay, so next up, we have the Town of Manlius Police Department to do a presentation on the SIRO and SBO program. And we have with us Officer Becky Kumar, our Officer of the Year, as well as Officer and we do have Dr. Tyson, Dr. Neville from the schools here to join us in the presentation.
Feel free to bring those chairs in if you'd like.
Yeah, there's some chairs out in the hallway.
Yeah, you don't want to stand.
It looks like we've got a couple spots.
So the way it works is that you do address the board, and we know you want to address everyone. This right here will record you, and everything's recorded so people can watch later, and for anybody who's on hybrid. So we know you want to address everyone. You don't want to put your back to the people, I'm sure. We'll try and get that. But we do need
the microphone.
Yes.
Okay. So I am Officer Kumar. I am the school resource officer for the East Syracuse Minoa Central School District, primarily located at ESM Central High School.
And I am Officer Damian Golden. I am the head resource officer in the Manlius School District, and I am at the high school.
Sorry. Okay, so we're going to do a little history on school information resource officers and throughout the town of Manlius. The ESN Central School District started their resource officer program in 1994 with the implementation of Officer Donna Schmidt. They then expanded to adding a resource officer at the middle school and recently added 2 special patrol officers. One is at the high school with me, the other is at the middle school, and together we collectively go to all of the elementaries. We'd like to thank Donna Schmidt, who started the program, and all of the resource officers that came before me for their distinguished service to the ESM school district and the community.
So, in like fashion, the Fayetteville Manlius School District implemented their SIRO program in 2012, beginning with Officer Ben Escobar. But in the fall of 2015-16 school year, I took over the program and developed it alongside our new superintendent, Dr. Tice. And then we were able to add positions in both of the middle schools in fall of 2017. Together, we were able to build the FM programs, which currently is with an SBO in all three of the FM elementary schools, and a full-time cycle. FM school is also, FM school is also fully equipped at the high school with myself and an SBO. And so currently right now we have 3 side roles and 4 SBOs.
East Syracuse Manoa Central School District, as I said, has myself and SPO Galarno at the high school. SPO Galarno comes to us with over 20 years of law enforcement experience from Lowville. And at Pine Grove Middle School, we have SPO Officer Clark, who has over 20 years in law enforcement with New York State Police.
So for the FM school district, visual for everybody, you have myself and Officer Damon, who was also full-time school resource officer in ESM school district before Officer Kumar. He did about 5-6 years there and brings over 20 years of experience with me at the high school. And we round out with Officer Palmer, who was at Wellwood. Officer Rogan, who came to us by way of Whitesboro High School with over 15 years of experience. We round out our elementaries with Officer Malik, who was at Syracuse. And SBO Roy, who was the chief over at ESL before he came to us with over 30 years of experience. And Officer Hack at Andrews Road, who also came to us by way of Syracuse PD with over 20 years of experience.
The ESM Central School District covers East Syracuse, Manoa, Kirkville, parts of Linkport, parts of Fayetteville, and parts of Bridgeport, and parts of Eastwood. Lots of different areas in the district itself. It has approximately 3,500 students and approximately 600 staff members, over 1 high school, 1 middle school, 4 elementary schools, and 1 preschool. The school district provides multiple programs through academics, arts, sports, and career and technical education. It is a culturally diverse community where students and staff of all races, gender, religion, ethnicity, disability, economic background can work together collaboratively to build an inclusive, respectful, and educational environment for everyone.
So to round out our town school district, for the FM school district, we serve more than 4,200 students that are enrolled in 3 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 1 high school. Fayetteville Manlius is nationally recognized for its success in academic, athletic, and the arts, and as a hallmark. Fayetteville is committed to creating a collaborative learning environment where all members feel included, respected, valued, and connected by affirming individual identities, fostering relationships, and recognizing diversity, an asset for teaching and learning.
So what is the role? We've given you some background. What is the role of the SIRO and the SPOs? By our general order definition, our role is to patrol school property to assist school staff on a proactive basis in responding to a variety of societal problems which interfere with the fulfillment of the school district's educational responsibilities, to include.
We maintain a visible presence on all the school properties. So you'll constantly see us around either inside or outside. We have 2 offices at the high school. I'm just talking about specifically, but in every school, we have an office where the resource officer starts his or her day, and then they will continue either out at the bus. You see us out on the road, directing traffic. Some of you have seen that before. Or we'll be in meetings with our administration. Often we're roaming inside and outside, just checking everything for it's important to.
We promote positive contacts with staff and students. That's all day long. That's from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, and then going on to sporting events, award ceremonies, dances, that entire time. And again, we will discuss this a little more later. We are there to build relationships and positive contacts with students who may not elsewhere have that relationship.
We assist school officials in their overall responsibilities of maintaining order, protecting persons and property. I'll touch on that a little bit, but we'll kind of scroll through these so we can get to the more
We serve as a resource to students and staff, which we will elaborate a little bit more on later.
Model of cooperative relationship between school and the police. Now that's the liaison piece. So we serve as kind of the sounding board between Town Manlius Police, whatever our chief, whatever he gives us directive on, and we use that in talking and speaking with the school administration. We're able to work together and deal with a couple different things by maintaining that open line of communication that usually runs through us.
We monitor individuals who are not registered students or have no official business being on school property. That could be as simple as walking their dog during the day while the kids are there, or people who have ill intent and may have a problem with an administrator or a parent who's having a problem, whose child's having a problem, but they're coming at it in an unruly way. We are there to help monitor that and make sure that everyone is safe.
And I'll elaborate on that a little bit more, because oftentimes the people of this town love schools. We understand that. We love it too. But when we're trying to maintain safety, we have to let everybody know each one of our schools encompasses a neighborhood. We often have people love to walk their dogs. We got some space, love to walk and run in general, use the facilities, track or tennis court. We can't have that during the school day, which we have encountered at some point. So it's always good for us to be out there and just give reminders to the residents that school safety, it goes beyond just having a nice place to go play tennis or take a walk. When the students are in session, we can't have you on school grounds. So it's kind of where that comes. Okay, we investigate crimes perpetuated by and against juvenile. Now that's our police portion, where we hats there, and we are police officers, but oftentimes that's the last part of what we do while we're in there. That's actually the easiest part of what we do in school. Police force, we train for that at the beginning, but being a school resource officer is a lot more different, intense training to deal with students to teenage brain. So we'll dive some more into that later. But a lot of times when we say the word arrest, it scares a lot of people. But arrest, juveniles have a completely different law batch that we abide by. So an arrest isn't anything like you would see on TV. We're not dragging kids out, through the halls or throwing them in the back of police cars. It's a much more related process.
We also conduct programs for juveniles and adults, encompassing both parents and students in different roles. We'll discuss that a little bit more later, whether it be Alive at 25, which is a driver's educational course, or talking to parents about new social media trends and drugs and things that they need to look for at home.
So what are some of our responsibilities? The Thyro SBOs maintain a full-time presence in both ESM and Fayetteville Manlius school districts located within the school. The Thyros meet daily with students and staff, both formally and informally, to provide guidance, training, consultations, and crisis intervention. We also visit classrooms in their respective districts, provide education to students in various topics. And here are some of those examples.
So we teach Alive at 25, which is a driver's educational course that helps students understand why they are at such higher risk of being involved in a car accident, or more particularly a fatal car accident before they turn 25. It is required at ESM in order to park in the parking lot to get a pass to park. It's just an additional layer of safety in addition to their driver's education 5-hour course, and if they take driver's ed. We also brought back this year the mock DWI trial that every 15 minutes. It is an added layer, especially before starting prom and ball season and going into the summer, which Memorial Day to Labor Day are the 100 deadliest days for teenage drivers. And that gives them an extra, an upfront experience of what it looks like to see their peers in a position of whether being arrested or injured or killed in a drunk driving accident.
So the title every 15 minutes just comes from every 15 minutes, there is a car crash in the United States. More than likely during those seasons, it's a teenager. So we also teach health classes. You know, we're not actually teaching health, but we go there to talk about the effects of drugs, alcohol, thought processing, mental health with the teenage brain.
And this is especially important with kids have been drinking underage and smoking marijuana for decades. However, with the legalization of marijuana, it brings a whole new batch of questions and assumptions that kids have about the effects of these drugs and why they're bad, especially at their age to use. We also do career presentations. We go into classrooms and discuss what brought us into this career field, what maybe some of our life experiences were. I think that every resource officer in SBO I've met is very open about challenges they may have had that have brought them into this career field and things, or people that they have met that helped them along the way. And that definitely opens up a dialogue with other students who may have thought, because I certainly know I thought growing up, well, how I was raised, where I come from, I've made some mistakes. I'm never going to be able to get into law enforcement. That was a misconception. So it's teaching kids that it's okay. You've made mistakes, but it's okay. You can still go on and do these things that you thought were impossible.
Now, oftentimes I get asked, some view me as a popular type of officer. Yes. Wonder why I didn't become a real police officer. Now I'll tell them like, well, what do you see as a difference? And it's pretty fun to hear their mind process on what they think a real police officer is compared to why you're just walking around the school. And I like them to think that, so they actually knew what I was doing in the school. And we give them a little bit of piece of that, but we enjoy teaching them about the different effects of policing. There's a wide, broad, and super highway of how you can police and the effects you can have in your community. So we also do lockdown drills, which everybody's probably pretty much familiar with. So we work with our administration and we test out, we do typically 4 drills a year where we test out the systems. We do mock drills. Dr. Tyson and I, we've looked nationally on how most schools do some lockdowns, and we're working on doing some more effective or more mock style lockdown drills, where we maybe add a few more components and add some more staff. But that's things we've been developing over time. Obviously, things like the pandemic and other things have changed our perspective a little bit, how we approach lockdown drills, because the rising school shootings nationally, we don't want to put anybody in the type of fear that that's something we're concerned about, but we obviously want to be prepared.
We also bring in canines from local agencies, state police, county, city. They will all come in and assist us with a lockdown drill, because in a real world scenario, they will be there assisting us also. And this past year, we also went to staff members during staff meetings and discussed it a little bit further and how we would need them to react, because, and bringing upon the, when we're doing a lockdown, do it like it's real, because that is what you are going to do. We also, we all know bullying has been around since the beginning of time. Unfortunately, now we also have it on social media and have it at our fingertips to send whatever comment we want to people. It's a lot easier to do it behind a keyboard than it is to do it to someone's face. So that is something that we work with parents and students and staff members on trying to prevent, but then dealing with when unfortunately it does happen.
Yeah, so that brings us a very interesting situation. I often have to tell kids bullying took a new turn. When we were in high school, the bully can only mess with you at school. Oftentimes, even when we meet with parents regarding bullying situations, I have to tell parents that even though they took their kid and brought them in their home and feel safe, the bully is right there in their bedroom at all times. They're getting bullied by kids they don't understand or know, which brings us into a whole new aspect of what we have to do regarding the mental health and internet safety and drugs and alcohol. Social media plays a massive part of what we actually do in the schools and how we maintain control over that with our youth.
Yes, it seems to be easier and easier for kids to get their hands on drugs and alcohol, whether it be through the internet or local shops. So that is something that we're constantly talking to parents about, what to look for and how to be aware, and even what a vape smells like. A lot of parents don't know. Once you smell it, you're pretty aware, but it's that knowledge piece that if you're not exposed to it, how would you know? We also talked to them with that internet safety and sexual predators. Unfortunately, we have seen recently how quickly and easily sexual predators can get into our children's messaging and how quickly it is for them to deceive them and convince them to do things that they would not normally do and get or gain access to photos that the kids never intended anyone to see. So especially now, that is a huge component of conversations that we have with parents and children on keeping themselves safe and not taking photos that could get to people.
Our general safety, again, one of the easier parts that falls on our police side, we check security cameras and have constant maintenance and updates with those. We work with our tech teams in those. We also monitor bus garage, and I work with the bus team in my district, and Supermarket does as well. Making sure those camera systems are operational and working with them when we have people pass school buses. If it's off school grounds, there's situations like that, I'll get the information and send it right to our officer, and they'll be getting a nice knock on the door from a friendly town of Manlius police officer regarding why you decided to go buy a school bus and get your ticket. So general safety works in a lot of ways from what we do.
Wellness days and mental health crisis intervention. After COVID, this is something, well, we've always had Positivity Project in ESN, but wellness days and just time for the whole classroom to sit and discuss maybe some things that have been going on to help bring out the mental health aspect, that it's okay to talk about these things. We don't have to keep everything bottled up, and just giving them that freedom to feel they can discuss it with their peers and that they're not the only one that wants to discuss it. A lot of kids want to have conversations, but they don't want to be the one to bring it up. Obviously, after COVID, everyone has seen the mental health crisis bloom, unfortunately. So we are working every day with students, teachers, administration, school psychologists, school social workers to get to the students that need that intervention before something bad happens.
So the crime prevention, that's actually one of my favorite parts about being a school resource officer, because a lot of times in being a police officer on the road, we are reactive. We're answering to the calls when something already happened. But as a school resource officer, we get an opportunity to be proactive. There's a lot of things that we recognize, a lot of services that we can provide, a lot of resources when we notice things that are different about a student or something in that, and we get to talk to them and maybe curb a thought or a process that's maybe going on in their minds. And again, that falls back to their mental health piece. But what's actually going on in the teenage brain is a lot different than an adult with the frontal lobe that's developed.
So what does all that mean? What do we really do every day? Besides make TikTok videos and dance with kids, we are promoting positive interactions between law enforcement, the students, and the community by building bridges and developing relationships for future partnerships between law enforcement and the community, which are our students. They are going to be our future. So we're trying to build those bridges and develop those relationships.
We are a sounding board for students to ask any and all questions, even the uncomfortable ones. We've opened the line of communications to help better understand each other. I work in SBOs, the only interaction students have with law enforcement, and sometimes the only positive interaction they have at all.
This is really important with students who, unfortunately, at home may have, due to personal experience, a negative interaction with law enforcement, for them to understand that we do have to wear different hats. We do have different roles, and sometimes that role is to be enforcing the laws, and what they experience may not have been positive, but we get to build that relationship with them to show them how it can be a positive interaction and how they can ask us the hard questions. Obviously, especially with everything we see on the news these days, the kids are the ones that are the most confused and don't feel that there's a place to ask questions. We are that place. No matter how difficult the question is, no matter how uncomfortable it might make us, we will answer the question to the best of our ability and help us all get a better understanding of each other.
And trust when we tell you some of the things you do not want to hear that goes on there, but we welcome that. Oftentimes there's based on judgment, just on the thought process, maybe when they thought was a friend and doesn't become a friend, and they deal with a lot of things on something they may have thought of and thinking or pondering about, and that turns into a meme or something else for them. And with us, they get to come in and we get to go through those thought processes. They don't have to have that fear. We break down those walls and we try to build them up and who they actually are. So that falls right into the mentoring students. But we also mentor them in the field of law enforcement. Oftentimes we get a lot of questions. Why did you come to this officer? I've always thought about it. It's what we do. And we get to be a gap bridging to them thinking it's such a hard process to get through, and all they have to have is the determination and the want to go into a field like we do.
We also communicate with parents to help them navigate the world of social media and internet safety and any questions they have regarding drugs, alcohol, and internet safety. A lot of parents have the basic Facebook knowledge, right? Like the new apps. There's so many, there's new ones coming up every day, but if the kids keep up with them, the adults don't. So we can help parents know what to look for, know where to find messages, know where to find photos that may be hidden. Give them tips and other apps where they can monitor what their kids are doing.
Usually.
Yeah, they like parents, and some parents feel it's an invasion of privacy. I say if I'm paying the phone bill. So that's, you know, to each their own, but we give them these options, different apps that they can use that also will turn off the internet at certain times. They won't even have access, which, because we all know after dark is usually when this stuff starts. So just giving parents, again, that extra resource and communicating with them to help, because they might not have any other way of finding this stuff out other than talking to us.
So the prefix co means together, jointly, and mutually. The partnership between the Town Manlius Police Department, FM, and ESN school district for the Siron SBO program focused on a series of co-words that emphasize the vision, critical functions that are a hallmark of the partnership. So connection. They establish a rapport and build relationships with students in order to be seen as a trusted adult in whom they can find. That's one of the things that we absolutely, that's one of our core missions in there, is to build connection, build rapport, make them comfortable enough to not just see the uniform and fear us or stay away from us or think they're going to get in trouble, but to come to us, connect with us, and let us help them build.
Consultation, we're used as a resource of information for students, staff, and their families. We have a lot of families who may be going through financial struggles or the vast variety of things that they go through. We can help them get the resources they need, whether that be getting them to keep or getting them services through social workers. We can help bridge that gap where they just don't have the knowledge of where to go.
So coordination, again, that's working with the school. So assist the administration to participate with the school officials on threat assessments, again, collaborating that. And on threat assessment teams regarding students, as well as periodic safety, security knowledge, and operational vulnerabilities. So with threat assessments, that's something, so a lot of times that falls into a see something, say something situation where students may have heard about a student that said something, or they see a message that is of concern or something like that. We work with our school administration and they have a form that they evaluate the situation. Obviously, we're a big part of that. We even do things where we'll go check the home, we'll go talk with the parents, we'll let them know if anything concerns. I mean, these days, you hear the word gun and anything, even finger gun. No kid knows how to take that these days. So there has been understanding where we'll educate them there. We extend outside of school. We'll go to the homes. We'll talk with the parents. We'll talk with the student. We like to see them in their natural environment. And if it gets to a certain level, or in some cases, just a level in general, well, we will check and see if they have on their walls, notepads, computers, what games they like. We don't leave any stone unturned because we want to feel comfortable. We want parents to feel comfortable with their kid returning. And if there's something that we need to address or get them a more perspective in their thought process, and we'll get them that for that resource.
We collaborate with the school administration and the school counselors, school social workers, school psychologists for students in crisis to help get them the help they need, whether that be a trip to Galisano's or a referral to Arise or Liberty Resources to get them the counseling on a regular basis that they may not be able to get outside of school. So both schools have the ability to provide counseling in the school, which is an amazing resource. So we help determine where the need lies based on crisis intervention.
So the cooperative, we assist school personnel with development, monitoring, and evaluation of school district and school building safety plans. Again, we have safety plan coordinator and FM district. We have meetings monthly. And so we get together with the district office and administration regarding just making sure we're up to date on all of our codes, building plans, any safety concerns that may have come down from other schools. We always try to make sure we stay, either on point or ahead of the game and wherever we need to be.
Collegiality or co-teaching, we work with teachers to provide workshops and safety, whether it be internet safety, bicycle safety, staying home alone for the first time, Halloween safety. We'll put on all these presentations at the elementary, middle, and high school level, depending on what is needed. But we work cohesively to co-teach with the staff that's there.
So conversations, another big piece of what we do. We walk the hallways and engage and interact with students while simultaneously monitoring, responding to any concerning student behavior. So again, that's a major piece. I love when I have students come up to me and Officer Damon, and they're like, is this what you do all day? You just stand in the hall? So I often like to ask them, what do you think I'm looking at? They're like, kids walking. So I'm like, great. Great. What we're actually looking for, because we're able to build rapport, we can tell when the student is separated from a normal group, when they were lively and not so lively anymore, when patches on their backpack change, when their clothes change, when they're wearing hoodies 24/7, even in sunny weather, when they start sitting alone or wear their earpieces and don't want to drown, they try to drown everything out. Those are students that we love to go up to and say, hey, how's your day going? What's going on? What class do you have? How's your friend group? It's not just, we understand school to them is regular, but social media to them is everything. So we always try to make sure we don't leave any stone unturned. We recognize a student that seems to be taking a different path from what they normally do. So that's massive. That's one of the main reasons why we're out searching. We have to painfully listen to some of their drama, but we listen for a reason. I happen to know a lot, and Officer Kamar does, about relationships that goes on in schools, between friend groups or dating, because it has massive implications on their mental health, especially these days with social media. One of the things that a lot of kids do that I'm still trying to gain perspective on and understanding is why they have each other's location. That is their personal business of where they are. But I've had more issues dealing with friends who get mad at other friends or a boyfriend or girlfriend. You said you were supposed to be over here. Why are you over there? This is my personal business. I'm not a full-grown adult. My mom made me go somewhere I didn't want to go. But now they have to explain these things. And the other big portion to that is it has to be accepted. It doesn't matter what you say, it's truth. And now social media changed to just perspective. It's not reality to them. So those are major functions that we try to educate them. Please turn your location off. You will see them or talk to them or text them or message them or FaceTime them whenever you want.
Keep it on for your mom. Off.
Yeah, they don't get that location.
But we also, and we try and explain to them, like, you don't have to have your locations on for Snapchat. You can have something like Life 360, where just your parents have your location. That again goes into the whole social media predators.
So many parents are using Snapchat,
yes,
but they're following on with all the other kids.
Yes. So, and there's so many other avenues to take where parents can still monitor where their children are. But it doesn't mean all of your friends and whoever you've decided to add on Snapchat because, hey, their emoji looks cool and you don't really know who they are. Or does, yes. We are also the communication liaison between law enforcement and school officials. Often something is going on in a student's life that is obvious. Like Officer Golden was saying, we can see something is different. So they may come to us and say, do you know about something going on? Is there something at home that you may be aware of? And the same with law enforcement. We get calls every night, all weekend. Hey, we're dealing with this child. Is there something we should know? Is there a background to the child that we should know about? And this is fortunately something the town of Manlius has done for a long time. It's not always just you did something bad, this is what's going to happen. I actually recently read an article that the chief was interviewed on when he became the youth officer. And that was something he said, we need to know why kids act the way they're acting. And that's something that we still use. Is there a reason? Is there something going on in their life that has caused a child that has never acted up before to suddenly be acting out, or for behavior to be escalating? And we get to be the liaison between the school and law enforcement to communicate that.
So finally, the commitments to the school. Fayetteville Manly School District and the SME School District and the Town of Manly Police Department expanded the Cyro SBO program slowly and deliberately by adding one Cyro or SBO over a number of years in order to ensure that all school buildings had coverage and access to the program. And a big thank you to Dr. Tice, because he was one of the four founders. I remember sitting with him in a meeting once, recall this, and he gave me a good vision for the SBO program, which wasn't even developed at that point. And I said, Dr. Tice, you're a real one, but that's not going to happen. But we worked together and kind of made some big department and we are able to build it out. We're very happy of where the program is and the direction it's heading in and how it's growing and how it's accepted and every aspect of what we do. And the commitment that both the school districts and our department has in developing this program and keeping it going strong, not just for students, but for staff and parents, is what we're striving for.
And building the bridges of trust, obviously, we are fortunate enough to watch these children grow. Sometimes we've watched them grow from 6th grade to now graduating high school. There is a student that when I started at Pine Grove, she was in 6th grade and she was so angry at the world. It didn't matter who you were, she wanted to fight you. Her life at home was not, roses, but it didn't matter. If you were trying to be nice to her, it didn't matter. You could be a peer, you could be me, you could be a teacher. She was ready to throw down. We worked together. We developed a relationship between myself and the counselors at school. I'm so proud of her. This year, she's graduating a year early, headed to college, zero trouble, does not, just keeps to herself, does her schoolwork. I have her permission to read a card that she wrote me recently, her and her mother. Her mom said, I want to thank you for all that you have done for my daughter and I. She would not be this far if it wasn't for you. You always made sure she had a voice and was seen through the hard times. Please keep being amazing. You're a reminder that this is more than a job for you. And then the student wrote, I can't believe it's time to say goodbye. If it wasn't for you believing in me, I wouldn't be walking the stage on the 23rd. I cry thinking about moving on to college without having someone to say hi to me every time I walk in the building and always checking up on me. You will always hold a special place in my heart. You're one person I'll never forget and have truly changed me for the better. Most mornings I'd hate my life and I'd put up a fight because I didn't want to go to school. And then there you were with open arms greeting me at the door because my mom called you and let you know I was having a hard day. I will forever be grateful for you. This isn't just a goodbye. It's a special see you later. I love you. Oh.
Like fashion. Literally, I walked to my office this morning and found this on my desk. Had no idea what it was. And I had a female student that I met as a freshman with her permission. She's going to allow me to read something that she wrote to me. Her position, she had serious internal family issues that spiraled into her as a young freshman, not feeling like she had any control over her life or what she wanted to do. But over time, we worked together. We went through some intense moments, but now she's graduating and moving on to college and is flourishing. I am so very proud of her to see her development from that young, very hard-headed young freshman to a blossoming senior who was doing amazing things. So I'll just read what she wrote. Try to get through this, and we'll go from there. Officer Goldman, as the school year and our time together comes to an end, I thought this would be an appropriate time to start writing this thank you letter. The only problem is I don't know where to begin. The first time we met and talked, it was a surprise to both of us. You, who usually never works late, she doesn't know it, but I always work late. We're not expecting to see me. I was not. And I, who never thought I would run to the school, leaving my home late at night, was not expecting to talk to someone real and comforting. And to our surprise, our meeting felt like the first time my guardian angel showed me the right direction. I had been through therapy and tried many other ways of coping, not only for my at-home issues, but also for the worthlessness that was taking over me. I had hit rock bottom, and I didn't know that I was capable of becoming something amazing. You helped me through my problems and showed me that I could prosper as a person. Most of all, you made me feel cared about through the effort and generosity that you gave me. You made the impossible seem possible. Freshman year, me may no longer be, and definitely wouldn't have become who I am today without you and your help that you showed me. That you showed me how to accept my emotions. That felt like they were spreading very fast like a virus. Thank you for taking away my humiliation. Thank you for helping me transform my hopelessness into powerfulness. Thank you for listening, helping, and comforting. Thank you for showing me I'm not alone and things can be worked out. Thank you for giving me a smile to wear on my face after crying tears in your office. Thank you for being the father figure I was never able to have. Thank you for making the impossible a reality. You always say, only do as much as you can, but it's up to the person to become who they want to become. I would not have been the person I am today and the person I would be years from now without your help. You are a superhero. Thank you, Officer. Closing. This is why we do this. And I'll leave it like that for any questions.
Thank you so much.
Are there any?
It's pretty comprehensive. No, thank you for being, thank you so much. I wanted to say something that, so many things have happened that are in the news and relate to students and they've been, not just the awards, but these really intense crises and great loss. And we know that you both have, and the rest of the team in the schools have experienced that. So I just wanted to say thank you so much and let you know that I really, really appreciate how much you give of yourself, but also recognize that you've experienced tremendous loss even this year. And I just want to say thank you for your service.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
Holy
so
moly.
next up, we're gonna be talking about the Sky Ridge Water District Improvement Project. There's something there. Kenneth, would you like to go up?
I'd to call the two officers to the podium to flank me on the screen. Podium 9. All right, thank you to the board. It sounds like news of the Sky Ridge Water Improvements has made its way out into the town. I work with Barton and Judas. I'm a senior vice president with the firm and have spent some time previous to this initiative here presenting tonight, working with the town of Manlius, town of Sullivan, Clear Path Veterans, and the Onondaga County Water Authority in an effort to come up with a long-term affordable solution for resolving the water quality and quantity and equipment issues that the Sky Ridge Water District has been dealing with for several years now. So we have prepared what's called a preliminary engineering report and map and plan. If you recall, a similar report had been done back in March of 2021 for this existing water district that includes 29 residential dwellings. This is prepared in accordance with New York State Town Law, Article 12, as well as being compliant with the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation's requirements for a preliminary engineering report. This document here is the first step toward getting the project listed with a funding agency that we would anticipate the town using for the base loan, that being the Environmental Facilities Corporation. This project is actually already listed with that agency. This document serves to update the structure of the project, the cost of the project, which has gone up, unfortunately, quite a bit since we attempted this a couple years ago. So this report frames up the planned improvements. It evaluated or updated the alternatives that were looked at a few years ago. The recommended alternative is the transmission main that would basically obtain its water from the tanks that are over on the intersection of North Eagle Village and Salt Springs. A small booster pump station there, a transmission main east on Salt Springs with a tank, and then continuing into the town of Sullivan for connection to Aqua's water system down in the village. Along the way, it would provide service to and replacement of the aging mains that are within Sky Ridge Water District, as well as service replacements, and ultimately allow them to decommission their existing water system. In addition to this, the town has received an informal petition request from the owners at Clear Path for Veterans. Clear Path at Sky Ridge LLC owns a parcel within the town of Manlius, as well as one or two parcels in the town of Sullivan. Clear Path as an organization has pretty extensive plans for growth and is in the process of raising funds for that growth on their campus. That growth is going to require more water than their current wells can provide. So they have asked the town to look at formation of a new water district that would encompass the Manlius parcel at Sky Ridge Water District Extension number 1. And then likewise for the Sullivan parcel, the town of Sullivan has been asked on behalf of Clear Path to consider the formation of a water district as Sky Ridge Water District Extension number 2. This restructured report includes 29 parcels or EDUs, equivalent dwelling units in Sky Ridge, as well as 3.5 EDUs within the 2 parcels owned by Clear Path and Sky Ridge LLC. So this project, the recommended project, comes at a price tag of about $13.7 million. This report outlines a preliminary plan finance and maximum amount to to be expended by the district under the 202B process. The town has secured a grant through Assemblyman Sturpey in the amount of $2 million towards the project. It's our understanding that Onondaga County has budgeted $800,000 this year in the 23 budget for the project. And the Onondaga County Water Authority, which is a pretty substantial stakeholder in the project, they're actually paying for our services to get these reports into the funding agencies. The time is right now with the amount of funding that's out there for public water, public sewer infrastructure. So again, the intent here is to have the board accept this MAP plan report tonight, initiate the seeker coordinated review process, and then ultimately put yourselves in a position where you have a public hearing with the existing water district residents and make a determination whether or not to pass a bond resolution by the end of July when the funding application.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Questions?
Oh, I have lots of questions. I guess my first question is on this. It mentions alternative 1 and number 1 and alternative number 2. And then I assume we have to do both of them to get to the $13 million. So no matter what we have to do, the alternative number 1 side, what are the improvements? Is that correct?
So alternative number 1, that's a good question. Alternative number 1 basically would replace what's there in kind. Right now there are 2 wells together with the largest well out of service. They cannot meet the demands of the current district. So alternative number 1 includes installation of new rock well, bedrock well, replacing the tank basically in kind, which doesn't resolve the fire flow issue, and then replacing the mains in services.
So it's an alternative, it's not in addition to.
But so number 2 here only says $9.2 million. Where am I getting? If I add them together, then I get more. That's why it seems like is it both of them?
No, just the alternatives to the plan. That is true.
I'm sorry, where are you seeing 9.2?
Page 1. Page 1. There's alternative 1 and alternative 2. I don't see
So
that was in the history section.
Which pages are you on, Lee?
Page 1.
So you're in the executive summary. That 9.2 is increased to 13.7 because of COVID, supply chain, inflation.
Just
Right. That was inflated to today's dollars. The project is now inflated to $2025 based on the current schedule.
So what we have in front of us is not up to date.
No, it is, because if the project was done by 2023, it would have been the 9.2, but now it's 2020 or 2025.
Right. So it goes on to explain what's happened since. This report serves to update the costs. So within section 6 outlines the 3 alternatives. Number 1 being no action, which we determined.
What page?
11.
And to the audience, this will be online.
This will be what?
Online. We just got it.
So these are not, this isn't the drafts we just read before we came.
Correct.
Correct. We just got this right when we sat down at the table. All right.
Yeah, this will be uploaded, but it's just got finished today.
Yeah.
It'll be made available online prior to public hearing. Okay, alternative number 1 is no action on 6.1 on page 11. Well, no, alternative number 1 is the Skyridge Water District improvement. So that was essentially what I was just describing. It could be basically replacing in kind what is there now, which has been determined to be substandard. So it doesn't offer any additional benefit other than extending the life of the system.
And how long did it extend? For how long would it extend?
Typically, it's going to be at least 30 years. The length of the bond, 30 to 50 years, will be the life of the equipment and its properly maintained.
So we obviously have to read this. So I think the point of today is not to say we understand this, that we have to read this before the public.
I don't agree. I would like to make sure we know what we want to do. Yeah, we're doing plan lead agency, we have the speaker, those things we need to understand what we're doing it on. But then the other, I just don't understand too, like I understand we need a solution for the Style Bridge water district. I also understand that more expensive option is ideal because it creates a loop for the water, which is better for the entire system, benefiting Onondaga County.
Elaine, could you speak up here?
Going over.
I'm sorry, just back up about 8 words and then we'll be back.
I also understand that this the $13 million option is ideal because it creates a loop for the water, which is better for the entire system, benefiting Onondaga County and Madison County, if I'm understanding this correctly.
Yeah.
With that, I would be happy to write a letter of support for Aqua or Onondaga County or Madison County to apply for this grant. But for the town of Manlius to take this on, that's something that we have tried to do twice and failed, to expand this water district here. I believe it's a little bit too much for the level of our government. 12 million, well, I have $12 million in here. That's 66% of our town's entire yearly budget, but it barely equals 1% of the county's $1.3 billion budget. So I can't wrap my head around how 30 residents are, well, again, I guess it's with grant funding and what have you. It gets it down to what? $2 million. 30 people are going to pay $2 million. So like, what does that equal? Like, and then the comptroller has to approve it. Is that going to approve that? It's over the $800 limit. So I'm just completely lost.
So on page 17, yeah, there's a table 6-2. So yeah, 13.7 million. 13.7 million is heavy lift. Okay, so with today's funding market, what you need to do as a town board, you are representing a special district. Okay, so any bonding that's done on behalf by the town is being done on behalf of 29 residential units in the district. No one else in the town, myself included, has any obligation to pay this bond. It's your responsibility, along with your town attorney, to follow the letter of town law. And in this case, this is an existing water district. So it's done under what they call a 202B, an improvement of facilities. And this first step here looks at alternatives and it presents opportunities and estimated costs. The folks in the district will be invited to the public hearing, which assumingly you will schedule tonight or a future meeting. Between now and then, everyone can review this report and come to that public hearing to ask questions. Ultimately, the hearing will be closed, and it's up to the town board, based on what they've heard, whether or not they move forward with the project. These are the people. At the same time, the town will serve as lead agency for seeker for the district improvements. It's your district, it's not the water authorities. So that's the coordinated review, which has been done before, but it was done for a different project. So the board as lead agency is essentially advising all of the interested and involved agencies that they were moving forward again, but slightly restructured, and here it is. Once you do that, then you make a determination of environmental impact through completion of part 1 and evaluation of potential impacts on parts 2 and 3. And then should the board move forward with a negative declaration as lead agency, that would then position you on behalf of the district to adopt a bond resolution. Since this is an existing district, this is not subject to council approval. That's only if it's Article 12 in a new district. certainly the goal here is to start the process to get your base loan funding in place, that being the SRF program, and then bring this to a certain point of shovel readiness, which shows that the town is investing in this project as well as your other stakeholders. And in doing so is demonstrating to the funding agencies that provide the grants that you're moving forward with this. In some cases, like the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act grant, you have to advance a project to a bond resolution and submit that with your application to qualify for funding consideration. By passing a bond resolution, you're not obligated to spend the money. You're just positioning the district to spend up to that. And within that resolution, Tim, as your attorney, would basically take this plan of finance and say it is anticipated that the town would get $2 million. The town will get $800,000. The town would obtain a $10 million WIA. The town would obtain this with the intent that it lower the estimated user cost to a threshold that is comfortable and affordable to your existing district residents. So unfortunately, in today's funding world, there's a lot of funding, but you have to show commitment. So the process that you're considering here tonight forward is basically setting yourself down that road. And there's timeline restrictions here in that the WIA application is due at the end of July, July 28th. And you know, the bond resolution and the seeker need to be completed by that point. Otherwise, you are a year out and notification of WIA grants. And there's a slim chance here you may get. Again, it's a lot of money for a little amount of people. But at the same time, there are other programs that once you get through the seeker and the bond resolution, that opens it up to other funding programs.
But that's the point. Like,
well, at the end of the day, we have residents in the town that are part of a water district that we oversee. They are asking us to take on a project of this scale that they can have water for the long term, that they can have access to fresh water if their current system is not getting them or will not be getting them water that they need. The goal in the short term is to get far enough along to find out what funding is available. And we are not going to borrow any money or spend any money until we know what financing is available. And we're doing this. The reason we have to take this on is because it's our water district and our residents.
But I understand that. I don't understand why we're not considering the replacement.
Okay, so can I jump in?
No.
Oh, just Elaine said she can understand why they're not.
Why we're not considering the replacement.
Understood.
Can I say that the background on this too is that Clear Path for Veterans serves many folks across the entire county and the region. They want to expand. They can't expand with alternative.
Not alternative one.
They can't expand without alternative one. Okay. So
without alternative two.
Without alternative two. So the town could conceivably do the alternative one and serve the residents and not worry about the price, but an organization that serves the larger group of folks and frankly serves the county, the state, and the federal government, it would be held back from their goals and the way that they serve folks.
I have another question.
No, but I'm not done. So my point is that I think we have to understand that there's a political piece here. Okay, the Assemblyman Sturpey obviously understood the importance of having the residents, but also Clear Path for Veterans be supported. Aqua is providing your support, and it's important because there's a lot of work that goes into this. We know it costs money. We know, then that's important. The county and Legislator Olson, how was the county money committed to us? How did it come by a letter?
800,000 in the budget.
They placed it in the budget. And so Legislator Olson, how did that come to be? Clear Path advocated for that. Okay. No, I mean, can you look at me? But I'm telling you, this is what people need to understand. This is like this is the real stuff. There are conversations behind you need to know that. So my point is that we're a little nervous for the people taking on a giant commitment for the Cadillac without knowing that we have every single partner on board for the long term. That's the way I feel about it. I just want to hear that.
So the asterisk money, $2 million, is that for salt springs or is that just for this pipe?
It's for the old garbage water district.
So, because like, again, that seems more affordable, but to apply it to the replacement option, then this 3 times.
Yeah, but it completely cuts out service.
Well,
clear back.
Unfortunately.
To go beyond that, maybe some of the residents can speak to this. There's no guarantee you're gonna find water, because that's a ton of money digging holes in bedrock to try and find that. There's no fire protection afforded by that system right now. At times, the system can't meet demands. So you're basically, by replacing a system in kind, you are extending life of the system that doesn't meet design standards. It comes with a lot of risk. It's not a long-term sustainable solution.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, that's why I didn't want to rebuild 81. It would actually have to be higher and wider to go through the city. It's the same thing. I mean, I
have another question. The Clearpath is a non-for-profit. And so would they actually pay into water district?
Yeah, districts are not.
They're not.
Special fees, a water district fee is a fee, it's not a tax, so just checking. They're required to pay fees.
Could you speak up, please?
Tim, just, do you want to say that again?
Yeah, fees are not taxes, and not-for-profits are required to pay fees, which would be a fee for a certificate of water.
Yeah, in units or how does that get measured?
Yeah,
units. So that was my question. Do you mind?
If you just want to,
I just want to ask if Clearpath's budget would allow for a higher number of units by a lot more than what it is now.
3.
At 3. So if you increase their units to try to offset the cost of the neighborhoods.
So one of the things,
You know what I mean?
so it's 3.5 now,
Yeah.
based on their current water usage.
Okay.
If they expand and they use more water,
right.
one of the things that we have to consider
Yeah.
is how we would periodically
Right.
recalibrate the sharing.
Okay.
And that would make it more affordable.
Right, so that's on the docket. And then, but if you go back to 2013, I think, when we were told we could just paint the tank, and that would be okay. That was about $600,000 or something like that. And now we're at the $13 million project, because somehow the pandemic decided $4 million more needed to be spent now. And we're getting to the end of our real usage over there.
So yeah, this is a deadline. This is a real deadline in front of us. You worked this to a point that is and brought people on board. I'm just saying, I hate the politics of this that make it put it on us, but I think that I'm not screwing Clearpath. I think we should move this forward and then get to the public hearing where people can tell us.
Especially with the fact that moving what we need to move forward tonight does not commit us to spending the money, does not commit us to this plan. And what it does is it shows a commitment to working with our residents and a stakeholder that is near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah.
To say we're ready to move forward and start finding out, is that money out there? Are we going to get it? And are we going to get the deadline to apply for the most important grant that's factored into this cost?
So that's my next question. If we don't get the grant, we still have this problem. What are we going to do?
So we
would either
apply again for this project, or we would have to start having conversations about alternative 1.
Right. At least it keeps our options open. Why shut down an option at this point? Okay.
What's the cost of option 1?
2.8.
Yeah, 2.8
million versus 13.7 million.
You can't find water. You can't get
air and water. All right, well, it's not a public hearing. Let's just keep the conversation.
But listen, I do have a question. Why does the pipe have to be run all the way along Salt Springs Road? Why can't it come from the main mango that's closer and a less distance?
You're at a much higher elevation. Of the Sky Ridge than the hydraulic gradient or the pressure system that the village is a lower elevation. So that said, even the tanks over that are set back at North Eagle and Salt Spring are at a much lower grade. pressure in your faucet comes from the elevated storage tank. So the storage tank height that is needed to provide the pressure to supply fire flow and adequate volume to Sky Ridge needs a pump station off of the North Eagle tank to pump to a higher elevation. It's looped, it would be looped into the Chittenango system through the use of 3 pressure reducing valves that come down off the hill because pressure is so high coming back in. And by doing that, you are looping the system and providing a redundant feed in the village to this aqua water dam. There's no, your reservoir.
Yes, gravity is gravity.
You need a large supply reservoir to pump out. That doesn't exist down on the Chittenango side. There's distribution things.
The map showed that aqua is the same as the other ones. As far as
It's a technical tank.
There's no tank.
So,
okay. Any other questions from board members? The public hearing is yet to be scheduled.
Yes.
Can I ask a question? Because I want to make sure I understand it in my mind, because I'm kind of focused on the controllers issue and the EDU. Do I understand? On page 17, you provided us the table. Are those the 3 options?
Look at table 6.2.
Table 6.2, yes.
Yeah.
So the EDU for 1 is 7,824.
Without the grants.
Without the grants. Okay.
So that's 6.2 is just for the alternative.
That's what we own.
For the we own. Okay. Right. 2,596 is for.
So what we did there is you mentioned alternative number 1, which what we did is, the resulting estimated cost for that with a 60% WIA grant is 2,596.
Right.
So that target charge for alternative 1, we took that and said, okay, if you tried to reach that charge under alternative 2, you would not only need the grants you have committed and the $5 million WIA, but an additional $4.1 million in grant from other sources. Okay. To get that cost down to the point of 2,550 a year. Okay. And then the 1,040 is the current statewide public average for water district by the comptroller.
Right. Okay.
Just
to give us a range. Right. To give us a
again, you see to reach that, the additional $5.4 million in grant needs to be secured.
So best case scenario, if we get all the grants we're hoping to get, it looks like EDU is 2,596. What we anticipated.
This is the price per household?
Yeah, per EDU. So that's and you mentioned 280. We don't have to get controllers review of this because it is the existing.
It's an existing district.
Because it's an existing district, even though we're doing an extension to the district.
So the extension being new districts would require control approval.
Okay, so that's where I'm confused. That's my confusion. So the extension part of it, how does that come in? What's that number that we would send to the controller?
Probably send the same. The same table.
Okay, and they're going to look at that and they're going to say 2,000. Yeah. If this is best case scenario, all the grants we want, they're going to look at it and they're going to say $2,596. Okay, that's all. I just want to make sure it's clear in my mind. What we're
Okay. Again, the intent is to move forward with forming those districts for Article 12 by petitions and a state district.
But it would have to go to the controller for the extension component. Okay.
That's $2,500 per household per year. To in order to secure the bond and pay for that. Isn't there a state limit what that can be?
We haven't. Let's be clear. We haven't digested this yet, so we need to digest this. We need to kind of look through it. We'll work with Ken. We'll work with town board. We'll get a sense of what we're talking about. The supervisor is right and right. To declare yourself the lead agency for seeker purposes is a very procedural thing that doesn't commit you to anything other than we will
Sending a
be
letter
lead
to some
agency,
other-
which we probably should be. And we will send a letter to all the other involved agencies asking them whether they want to be lead agency. And if we don't hear from them within 30 days, then we are the lead agency for seeker purposes. And all that means is we will be doing the environmental review of this action. So we do this all the time. We declare ourselves lead agency, and I can't imagine anybody else wants to be lead agency on this.
And this has to be on the form when we send in for the apply for the money.
Yeah. This gets us to the position to apply and gets us to the position to undertake a potential bond authorization resolution, which this board would authorize the bond. You don't, because you're authorizing the bonds doesn't mean you're issuing the bonds. It just provides that authorization. This is one piece of paper that would go in with the application to WIA for them to review and to make sure that, as Ken said, we are at least committed to looking into this process.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no guarantee on that either.
That's right. There's no guarantee on the 4.168 million.
No.
So
this just allows you to.
But I think the core of it and why the timing is so important is this is impossible without that.
Right.
And so in order to respond to the letters we've received today from Skyridge Water District residents, this is the first step in saying, we hear you that you want water. We think it's pretty expensive, but we're willing to move forward and try to apply for this grant so that it's maybe even possible.
I have one more question. So,
if you could just come up to the front.
I'll stand here.
Sure.
Is this an open meeting now?
No.
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 We're allowed it.
Okay, so sorry, sir, we're not using.
Who can talk?
Yeah, this is not public hearing. We will answer questions during the public hearing. None of us have read this report. It's not, we can't.
you can always call 637-3414 tomorrow and ask questions.
Just a quick question.
We can't though. No, we
because
can't.
then everybody's
It's
going to get
unfair.
up.
Sorry about that.
So, are you ready?
I'll see you tomorrow.
I don't see it anywhere.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to declare the town of Manlius lead agency for seeker purposes in the matter of Skyridge Water District improvements and formation of the Skyridge Water District Extension 1, Skyridge Water District Extension 2 project.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
I would like to say though, I share Elaine's concern about this and some of these questions that we've advanced to Aqua over the past 24 hours when we received an answer 10 minutes before this meeting of some dubious quality, that answer, and a very dense report to digest. But I am voting that we should go ahead and advance this motion today for the simple fact is that we've been working with Skyridge District for something as basic as water and fire protection for some time. And this is a measure we can do to pursue that and not, gamble something away and take a huge risk on a $13.7 million bill to sit on. So long as we're moving in a direction where we have the option to pass and this isn't going to work out, I think it's something we need to pursue for the residents and for ClearPath.
Thank you.
So all those opposed?
Well, I'm abstaining.
You're abstaining?
Yeah, that means I don't vote. I don't have any information I need to vote. That is where I am.
No worries.
Okay. So it's 5 in favor, 1 abstention.
And John, I'm sure Ken, I'm making an offer to anybody who has questions. I will be here after the meeting. So if you want to ask me questions, and I'm sure I'll be here, we'll all be here to answer questions after.
I'm not sure Ken will be here. I would like to make a motion to accept the Skyridge Water District improvement and formation of Skyridge Water District Extension 1 and Skyridge Extension 2 projects as a type 1 action under the State Environmental Review Act, which involves. So we have to do the secret.
No, we're recognizing this as a type 1 action, which is by very definition could lead to a environmental impact. So we're just want to accept this as a type 1 action.
So we are accepting it. We do the question.
There's a resolution doing just what Tim just said. In addition, it's establishes your intent to be lead agency and start the coordinated review by circulating part 1 of the EAF with a letter to the list of interested involved agencies.
So Allison, there's actually yes. Actions.
Okay, so we've already made a motion to declare ourselves lead agency. We did it by voice motion. You can also accept this as a type 1 action by voice motion if you want to. Sarah, did you make that motion?
I made that.
Okay.
So we need to second it. I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, all those opposed?
Abstaining.
Okay.
So that was the resolution that was presented to all of you that you just approved. Now, there will be a letter that's going to go out from the town clerk's office to all the involved agencies, giving them an opportunity to tell us whether they want to be lead agency within the next 30 days. If they get back to us before 30 days, they can do that and say, no, we don't want it. And that will shorten that time.
Which sounds like it needs to be because July 28th is a deadline. So yeah. Who does this? Who follows this up? Is it? Thank you, town clerk member.
So any other action?
Thank you, Sarah. We can go on to.
Oh, we need to set a date for a public hearing.
Are we doing it
this evening for public hearing to make sure you have.
Because that's based on the preliminary.
And we recommend that you.
Okay, so we.
July 12th meetings for that.
All right, so we're July 12th is enough notice.
I don't, I would need existing people, a letter. I can certainly do that. I would just need those things. I would need that support to be able to turn that around because in addition to all these letters, I also have the Turnwood letters that need to go out. So,
so for a public hearing on a water district, we don't require letters to go out to individual. There's only one member of there's only one.
No, it's 3 or 2 can be.
Okay.
So it would be going to the 32 people.
32.
Right, so we have an email list. You know, it's easy.
Well, we'll have to send
20
officially a letter letting you know about the public hearing.
We've changed the local law.
But we can, Allison, I can support you in getting those out.
okay. Whatever the town board wants me to do, I will do. So.
Will we get that set the date for the public hearing for July 12th?
So does that work on your time frame?
So, and that's a public hearing on this report.
And the petition, right? And the petition from Clear Path for Veterans, along with this report.
So we are going to get the petition plus this up on our website as well. That's the other part.
Yes, I need that electronically.
Okay. Sarah.
Okay. So I would like to make a motion to set a date for the public hearing on the Skywater Water District improvements and formation of Skywater Water District Extension 1 and Skyridge Water District Extension 2 project for July 12th.
What the board's literally doing is accepting the petition plus the map plan and report. That's what we're doing. And now we're setting a date for public hearing.
They haven't signed, but they have to have this before they decide.
So next meeting on the 26th.
Yeah.
Okay. We would present you with a similar map plan report for Skyridge Water District Extension number 1 for you to accept and thereafter prepare a petition for circulation to the district owner, district resident, which would then be circulated for signature, come back verified by the town assessor, which would then petition you for a resolution to form the district.
So we have to have the extension in the new, we have to have the new formation of the district before we apply for the funding.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So
that's why it's the 12th.
So we're going to, it sounds like at our next meeting, we'll receive another one of these for the new district.
This is for the old district.
This is for the old district. So I think that sounds like we need to set the date of the public hearing at the next meeting for the 12th for the district creation.
Correct. So I'm going to.
Okay.
So I'm going to rephrase.
No.
We're gonna set a date for this.
The new one of these before that meeting?
Yeah, we can't.
Do we have that?
We'll be presented a very similar plan at the next meeting for the new district or the extension district.
So what do you think? It's a move.
10-day requirement.
Yes.
10-day notice for location. It's a 10-day notice.
Do you know the options of?
That's why. Considering how long this has been going on for with this, I think we would have a little more better understanding as to what has to happen.
Okay, so here's the idea. I would like to propose that if we need more time or more time before the 28th, if the money is not an option for us, if we don't get stuff in by the deadline, we're screwed. Excuse my language, but for the second time today. But but do we need to have a special meeting in order to get this petition in the hands of people sooner?
It's one signatory part.
Oh, the clear path.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, sorry.
Okay, so here, I would like to make a motion to approve, to set the date for a public hearing for the Sky Bridge Water District improvements, period, which this report is providing, for July 12th. Next meeting we can do for the new district after we've received the petition.
So July 12th at
6:35 thereabouts, which you can see how that worked today. So
yeah.
Would somebody like to second my motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay. It's 5 in favor. Okay, so I think that concludes this. So to everyone here who's interested in this, we will have a public hearing on July 12th. The information will be available online. We strongly suggest people take a look at this.
If anyone needs a paper copy, they can come to the clerk's office and request.
That's going to be not we can't. No, I don't think we can.
Well, you have to give it.
So,
to read it.
yes.
And you're gonna give me an electronic copy tomorrow?
We'll get that all.
I'd like to offer 2 days of one hearing tonight, certainly either
for the
July 12th. It's on this group.
and we're going to send another
Also on July.
for the district extension.
for council persons that have not been through this before. There's quite a few meetings and initiatives that go into these outside of this meeting. I'm always available to answer questions, and if you'd like to join the stakeholder meetings with Aqua, ClearPath, Sullivan, I think you're welcome to those as well.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay, so next up, we have the zone change application. I think we have a Turnwood Development here to give us an update on the project.
I couldn't hear.
July 12th.
No, I mean for the next. You want to speak?
Yes, please.
Oh, can you
It's okay.
I couldn't hear. My name is Chris Danaher. I'm an attorney in Hancock Exeter. I represent the applicant. I'm here with Anthony Rayhos and Scott Freeman. We've represented the applicant before this board a little while ago. We discussed a zone change for the Garden Park Apartments, which is on Hybrid Street, next to the Brookdale facility. We were referred to the planning board for the project. We met with the planning board a few weeks ago for their recommendation to change the zoning of this vacant parcel of land from commercial A to R5 district. They gave us their recommendation for a zone change from commercial A to R5, and therefore we're back before this board tonight to talk about setting a public hearing for the zone change that we requested for the site. We understand that there's a lot that goes into the development of this site, and that will be, a lot of that would be addressed in the site plan process. And we can appreciate the concerns of neighbors and what they may have with respect to the development of this project. We believe that that is appropriately discussed and addressed at the site plan level. What we would like to point out is that the zoning district right now, I'd like to emphasize, is a commercial A. For whatever reason, it is a commercial A, which is a much more intensive use than what we're proposing, which is an R5. So we're not creating a zoning that is going to intensify use for a property. We're downsizing the intensity of the use for this project. And what we believe is that this use is more consistent with the use that we're proposing is more consistent with what is around the site. So we believe, and we would request that that public hearing be set so we can have a further discussion about it. And we again believe it's the best interest of the town residents. And in addition, I would like to note that the comprehensive plan that this town board has reviewed, what we're trying to do is consistent with it. So we would encourage this board to set the public hearing so we can proceed forward. And then we can take the next step if we do get the zone change, that we can address the issues at site plan level as well. I don't know if Scott or Anthony have anything to add.
Well, I'll just add to, I know at the previous presentation, one of the major topics was access to the site. Sure. I know we've received an agreement that Turnwood is taking on the financial responsibility to bring that up to spec.
Oh, we didn't know.
What?
We don't know that.
We didn't get that.
Oh, so there was a question at both the planning board level and the town board level about access. And what was in this site has had a history to it. But what we provided to this board was an agreement between the current owner of the property. My client is the applicant to buy the site. But the current owner has an agreement in place with the Brookdale facility owner regarding dedication of a cul-de-sac or a piece of land to the town, assuming that it gets brought up to town specs. What we've asked the town is the town willing to accept dedication if we meet the parameters and the standards that the town requires for dedication purposes? And I think that's a discussion that needs to be had.
No, I've received the agreement. I know we've sent it over to Rob, who's had a look at it. I'll make sure we get it out for the rest of the board. But that was something that we had asked for, and I know we did receive that prior to this.
Yeah, and Rob and I have talked, and if the road is built to town standards and it's serving more than one property, then we would be in a position for it to be dedicated to the town.
Right, with that perspective, we would make sure that our engineer will review it to make sure.
Actually,
Probably when you rejoin the meeting.
yeah, I don't know if it forced an update or something happened, but that was very odd.
It seemed like something with our.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there was a surge or something. Yeah.
Okay, so we were just discussing the deeding of the Gramercy, is the name of it?
Yeah.
Gramercy Road that says it's Gramercy Road, but it's actually not a road yet. to becoming a road of the town. And there will be a process whereby that is evaluated. If we're not guaranteeing either way at this moment, but that's what this project is based on.
We acknowledge that. We think it's more of a site plan conversation. Obviously would like to understand where the town is, and I think we're getting that impression. But yes, that is something that we understand has to have further discussion. Great.
Some of the other things that were raised earlier today or that we've received correspondence about, I agree, are primarily site issues, but I hope you were listening and perhaps can come up with some recommendations when you go back to the planning board that would address some of the neighborhood concerns.
Would we be able to get a copy of any letters that are submitted of concern so that we can have a prepared response?
Absolutely, appreciate it. Okay, I look for a motion to schedule a public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion to set the date for the public hearing on July 12th at 6:35 in the matter of the zone change application submitted by Fernwood Development known as Garden Apartment located on Hybrid Street, considered changing the zone from commercial A to residential 5.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you.
See you later.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, setting a date for a public hearing for some stop signs on Scobie Lane.
So I would be happy to make a motion to set a date for a public hearing on June 28th at 6:35 p.m. to consider proposed local law to install signs. Is that enough time for notice for the stop signs?
Yes.
Stop signs on Muscovy Lane between Aylesbury and Widgeon Path as outlined in the resolution prepared by the attorney. Which is
okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, we have a bus lease with the FM School District. This is for what's the playground?
It's for playground with our summer recreation program playground there. We do this every year. We lease buses from the Manlius Central School District for the duration of the program and for a couple extra days in there too. We're leasing it for $225. So I'd like to make a motion to ratify the bus lease because we had to actually have it signed prior to the meeting to line up with the school district's meetings. So a motion to ratify the bus lease agreement with the Manlius School District at a rate of $225 for the summer of 2023.
So it's 225. Yes. Okay. I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you, carries. Next up, the employee assistance plan renewal.
This is just a renewal of your partnership that we've had with the ESI Employee Assistance Group for several years, or the employee assistance program for town hall folks, highway, and as well as the police department. It's a 1-year renewal.
I only have one question, Anna. Is it a significant increase in price or change or anything like that? It's a great program.
Yes, there is a slight increase, and unfortunately, like everything else, I don't have. I can get you that information. What the increase is?
It's significant or not is really my question. Is it?
No, it's not significant. No.
Is it always extended to entire families?
Yes, it's for employees, their families. Yep, absolutely. And again, it's completely confidential. The only thing I get is a report that says so many employees have used it.
No, I've read it. I've been privy to a number of these EAP programs in my professional life, and this is a good one.
Right. Yeah, hear that. There's a lot in
it.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, make a motion to accept authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement with ESI for the EAP plan from July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2024 at a rate of $3,402.09.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then, so this is a pretty new development. We have talked about, we set aside some ARPA money for some traffic calming measures. And one of the things we had been looking at in the more recent time was looking at temporary speed bumps to help with traffic calming. And I know we had quite a bit of advocacy for the signs that tell you what your speed is and flash when you're speeding. And so thanks to Superintendent Cushing, we got a much better quote. It works out to just about, I think, 35 or 3,400 per sign. which is much better than I think what we thought was about 7,000. When we had looked, the big difference here, these attach to the existing poles that we use, the squared off poles. So much cheaper to use and ideally more convenient to install.
And to move around.
Exactly, yes, to move them around. So this is something that we can, when there are concerns, obviously we have the police department put out there the stuff that we learned about last month with the presentation for traffic enforcement. But this is a good behavioral modifier it's just a flashing sign. If you are speeding through a neighborhood, the sign's going to be flashing at you. And I will say in conversations with some neighborhoods, where we were talking about temporary speed bumps, there's some pretty serious concerns about those. So this is kind of that, intermediate option. And I know I've asked for approval for 8 signs. I think those are all spoken for by neighborhoods we have, and when they're done with them, they'd be able to move on to the next neighborhood.
You just answered one of my 2 questions. Because what's on the agenda just is a bid for estimate for 2. So I'm glad you verified we were looking for 8. My other question is, are there any restrictions on where we can place them? Any roads we cannot place them on?
So you can place those anywhere within the town's right of posts. They're movable, meaning there's no different signposts will say what we use for any of our street signs. There is a maintenance piece, there's batteries that do go bad on that we will have to probably change out every couple of years. I don't have a cost for those right off the top of my head, but I do know that other communities across the county and or the state are kind of going that direction.
I just ask because I think we've seen the mobile units that the town Manlius PD has. They can put them anywhere and get them out of there. Yeah. But I've only seen the pole mounted ones. Village.
Yeah, we can put them up within our right. We have the right to put them within our right of way. It's going to be a conversation, obviously, with the neighborhood, with the subdivisions and the residents.
I'll get right to the point. So,
I don't want
to. Redden Road, Redden Ridge, Route 92, coming down from Woodchuck Hill Road. It's a state road, so
yeah, we don't want to put those within the town's right of ways only. We would have to petition the county and state to do anything.
Yeah,
that's my question.
And generally speaking, the requests that we were kind of responding to, these are all going to be neighborhoods on town roads and things like that.
We'll get the signs and then we'll petition the county.
Okay, but then we'll have them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we need them.
Yeah, and the county.
And we will be asking the county to pay for it.
Yeah, and I think the county is very open to that type of thing when we talk to them about a few other instances. The state, obviously, it's a bigger hill to climb, but we like this is
Green Lakes Road.
Yeah.
And I have a question as well.
Yeah.
Do these collect data?
No.
These don't collect.
These don't collect. And there's a 2-year wait.
That
well, because if there was, I wanted to know if the neighborhood was experiencing a lot of speeding, then we could put the speed bumps in.
So what we've done, so there's a particular neighborhood I'm thinking about. The first thing we did was we put out this, like I have speed studies from the neighborhood to deliver to the residents.
Okay.
From the police putting out their equipment.
The police's equipment came back.
So we'll
do a study.
And honestly too, before we deploy these, it's very likely that assuming there's capacity, we would go and do a speed study first. Because if we find out that there is no speeding, we wouldn't want to take this scarce resource and put it somewhere. Speed studies?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could definitely talk to the police about getting that up. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
So there's a
make a motion to authorize the purchase of 8 solar powered speed signs for the amount of up to $26,396 from Crossroads Highway Supply.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
And again, that's coming from ARPA.
That's the ARPA money we said. Anyone opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Just another update.
Just a note that that's on state contract.
Yeah, it's on state contract. Yeah, that's why that's why we were so excited. So the only one of the updates is that the town Manlius Justice Court is going to be closed on Fridays for the future until it's otherwise. We've had a couple folks that have come in, we've let them know, and we're working with the court to make sure that we're informing certain agencies that come by frequently to just let them know the court will be closed on Fridays. And then it looks like we have approval of minutes.
I'd like to make, Alyssa, did you get your adjustments made on minutes?
Oh, great. I'd like to make a motion then to approve the May 10th minutes, please. But can I do them both at the same time? May 10th minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And I'd like to make a motion to approve the May 24th minutes.
And I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to approve asterisk number 11 in the amount of $908,000, $908,970.54. And the winner is our Clark Hill Drainage Program.
Ooh. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Does any of the counselors or any of the town hall staff have anything else we can discuss tonight? Oh, yes, go for it.
We originally had a ribbon cutting scheduled for this Saturday for our ADA approved dock that was going to be installed at the Erie Canal at Spoolsbrook. However, due to unforeseen circumstances, the dock is unable to be installed this in time. So we are going to be rescheduling that to July 26th at 4 p.m. That is the 33rd anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act signing into law.
Great. Okay, I look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Good night, everybody.
Nice.